So lately on the channel, I've been looking at several budget options for people that are looking to get into PC gaming. This has included specking out a brand new system that's designed to play 1080p games on a budget under $500, as well as looking at a couple graphics cards both used and new. Today though, I want to target the ultra budget, and I'm talking about a PC that's going to cost you below that $200 price point, in my case more like $150. That includes this Dell Optiplex, which is a used small form factor PC, paired with this MSI R7 240. Now I will note that this particular Dell required a couple of modifications to get this graphics card to fit, primarily because it uses an inverted motherboard layout, which is not present on later Optiplexes. So if you do this yourself, you may want to look for one of these used Optiplexes that came just after this generation, where the motherboard is aligned normally. That being said, it just took a little bit of hacking off of the fan shroud from the graphics card, as well as hacking off one side of the hard drive caddy, which did not have a hard drive included, I'll add, to get the graphics card to fit in there nicely. And since I had removed part of the hard drive caddy, it no longer had the ability to hold a 3.5-inch hard drive anyways, so I just used an old SSD that was laying around, 120 gigabytes in my case. However, if I hadn't had my own storage laying around already, I would recommend buying either a 500 gigabyte or a 1 terabyte laptop hard drive and just mounting it in there like I did with some double-sided tape. Once those minor modifications were finished, it was onto the gaming benchmarks. Now for these benchmarks, I used the same 4 games that I used for the GTX 660 as well as the RX 460, and if you want to see how those two cards stacked up in those games at 1080p, you can go ahead and click the card. So let's go ahead and hop into the benchmarks and see just how well this roughly $150 PC performs. And before we hop into these benchmarks, I want to point out that a green bar represents a 60 plus FPS rating, a yellow bar is anywhere between 30 and 59, and anything below 30 comes in as a red bar. GTA 5 at 1080p is in fact playable, however I would recommend lowering the resolution just a little bit further so you can get a little bit higher of a frame rate. The average was over 30 FPS, but those 1% and 0.1% lows did dip well into the 20s or even the teens at points. Moving on to Skyrim at the low preset with anti-aliasing off at 1080p, we saw everything below 30 FPS, and this is a game that was sort of strange because it actually felt a little bit more playable than it actually ended up being from the chart. And by that I mean I didn't feel like I was waiting around trying to figure out where my cursor was going to land as I moved around to look. So I do believe lowering the resolution just a little bit further to get over that 30 FPS mark is possible on the Skyrim Special Edition, which does make the game playable. And moving on to more of what this system is really intended to do, playing a couple eSports titles here, Overwatch at the medium preset 1080p gives us a solid average of 60 FPS, 1% low of 40, and a 0.1% low of 24. And before you ask, no, VSync was not enabled on this run. The average just happened to land right on the 60 mark. And lastly, we have League of Legends with absolutely everything maxed, including turning on anti-aliasing at 1080p. We have an average of 71 FPS, 1% low of 46, and keeping the 0.1% low above the 30 mark at 33. This game was extremely playable. I at no point even thought about the fact that I was playing on a very low-end system and an R7 240 graphics card, so top marks for League of Legends. So I guess it's sort of conclusion time. There are a few things that you need to consider if you yourself are going to put together a small form factor PC just like this one. First and foremost is your graphics solutions are very limited by the half-width card slots. Specifically, I believe right now the most powerful card that would fit into a case like this is a 1050 Ti, and I believe Zotac and MSI both make low-profile brackets for cases like this. As I already said before, those cards would fit very nicely in one of the slightly more modern Optiplexes with the i3 processors because the motherboard layout was made normal in those ones. But if you're willing to hack off some of your fan shroud and hack up the hard drive caddy a little bit, you can get those cards to fit in this exact model, and you can pick these up for, like I said, around $50. I got mine for, I believe, $47 shipped. The other thing to consider is just what type of games you're going to be playing. If you're planning on adding modern AAA titles to your PC library, this computer might not be the route for you to take. You might want to look at used Optiplexes that are full towers instead, which could fit full-size graphics cards and then get around the limitation of the small form factor chassis. In addition, if you're planning on using this as sort of a living room PC, you may want to look into either network attached storage or again look into a different form factor, because even using 2.5-inch drives, you're only really going to be able to fit one in there anyways. But if you're not looking for a lot of upgradability and you don't need tons of drive storage for movies or other files or whatever the case may be, then this type of computer actually may be right for you. Specifically if you're an eSports player playing things like Overwatch, League of Legends, and CSGO, this type of computer will absolutely kill it at 1080p on pretty good settings too, and it will give you a very smooth gameplay experience at a very cheap cost. So if you like this content, guys, give me a like, share, subscribe, and comment down below and tell me what you think about these ultra cheap and small form factor PCs. Is this a route that you would ever consider taking for yourself? You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Hoosier Hardware. They are the same tag for your convenience. And as always, we'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.